All right, great pleasure. Joining us now is Art Laffer, former Reagan economist, and a million other things, friend and mentor of mine. You know, Arthur, there's a tape. We found it today. I guess it's going to play tonight at Fox Nation. Charlie Kirk knew a lot about the economy, and literally his last interview, just hours before the tragedy, we've got some good clips for you. I want to let you listen to the first one. He knew a lot, Arthur. The guy was really up to speed. A terrific blessing. Anyway, Art, take a listen to the first one, please.
Look, I happen to be very long-term bullish on the American economy for many reasons. I think that there is a massive pent-up economic boom that's waiting to happen around artificial intelligence that is going to reverberate positively throughout the entire economy. I think rates are going to go down. I was talking to a major multi-trillion-dollar fund manager the other day, and he says their data shows the American economy is a lot better than even the Fed thinks it is. Consumer spending is remaining strong. If there were some pitfalls of where the economy is, housing remains to be a big problem. However, shelter inflation hasn't gone up too much since January. I think that we're going to see better energy prices. I think we're going to see more capital deployment. There's 100% depreciation coming back in the tax code here, which is huge. And heavy machinery discounts. And so eventually you're going to see this thing pop.
Boy, he goes through it. Look at me. AI boom, interest rates, consumer spending, housing worries, capital goods incentives. Arthur, he was one smart guy.
Yes, he was, Larry. And he started off that way. You know, we found the original piece he wrote for SOS back when he was in high school, Larry. And he was criticizing the bias towards socialist economics, towards Keynesian economics in the high schools and in colleges. And he specifically goes after Krugman and that textbook there that he did. Now, this is in 2012 when he was in high school. And he comes out and says, Krugman says that everyone agrees with this stuff. And he says that's nonsense, that he doesn't agree with it. There are other brands, most specifically supply side economics. And he mentioned Bob Mundell and me in his very first piece. This guy knew it from the very beginning, Larry. I mean, this guy is just such a hero. I mean, he did ask me to be on his board 3 years ago or so, and I just don't go on boards like that, you know, those types. It's just not where I fit well. But I had lunch with him, and he was just a great guy. He knew all sorts of stuff about economics, and his last interview shows the same thing.
I know.
I mean, he understands this stuff.
He talked a lot about the importance of free market capitalism in this whole thing.
He sure does.
I went through it.
And tax cuts.
Hang on one second. Yeah, here comes another big chunk of this last interview we had on the economy.
The more I realize that so much of this is psychological, that if people believe things will be better, they will be. And so I would say that the more that we can cheerlead the economy, the better. And the more that we can say that it's good, the more that it will be good. I would much rather be the United States than continental Europe right now, where there are so many incentives based on this latest tax bill that I think will be enormously positive. And if the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime actually does end up materializing into demand-driven parts of the economy, there'll be more people that have more money in their pockets that will spend it more in restaurants, right? So again, don't take this to the bank, but generally, I am investing like a bull. Especially a long-term bull, a 5-10-year long-term optimist. I think that we have such incredible assets, and I think as long as we keep that kind of mindset and that psychology, I think we're going to be in a very, very good place.
Boy, he was just completely at speed. By the way, when I say it was his last interview, it wasn't just his last interview on the economy. It was his last interview before the tragedy struck. That's what's so amazing. He was talking to a restaurant group. But one other thing, you heard him talk about tax incentives, Arthur. He clearly on the supply side, clearly you had an influence on him. By the way, do you agree with what he was saying? Just for the heck of it?
Well, I love it. I love it. Now,
he's an optimist.
Well, I'm a total optimist, too, and so are you, Larry. I mean, so was Ronald Reagan, and so was Donald Trump.
Yes.
I mean, how can you be anything other than that? We're living in America today. We had tax cuts. We have sound money coming. We have government spending control. Listen what your interview with Newt Gingrich was. It was spectacular. Then we have deregulation, that we're going to get much better trade deals done, freer trade, better trade. You know, we're going to stop the wars. What's not to be optimistic, Larry? It's the best time I've ever had in my life. Publicly, it's the greatest time ever. forward. I told you this last time, and I'm going to tell you again. I've made a vow I'm going to live the next 50 years just to see this beautiful economy unfold in front of my very eyes. I'm just so excited, and so was Charlie. The tragedy of it all, his life was cut short, Larry. He didn't get the chance to see his dreams, his prophecies come true. But boy, did he have an impact on the world. What an impressive young man. Didn't even go to college, or he went very short, one semester, I think, at community college. And yet he knew more than Paul Krugman ever knew.
I love that. Well, his life was cut short, but it was a great gift. It was a great gift, and
really wonderful gift. Still giving.
His movement will grow by leaps and bounds. You know, we talked about it earlier in the show. The others who are carping at him and making snide remarks, they grow smaller. He grows larger. He is a saint. And Arthur Laffer, you're a saint too. We appreciate everything you've done for this country, which is why you won
Larry,
the
I love being on the show.
Medal of Freedom. Anyway, we will talk soon, my friend. Thanks very much for this.
Thank you, champ.